This is the scariest movie in the world. One where an ordinary person couldn't even last 2 minutes. So let's see what your heart is made of. Evil Dead Burn. The movie begins at Dr. Benjamin Price's research center. He explains that the Book of the Dead is not some fictional story. The book has already been discovered by the Circle of the Wise Men, and even though Dr. Price warned them, they ignored him. They read the satanic spells written inside the book, releasing ghosts and evil spirits that had been imprisoned for many, many years. And now, there is nothing left to do but pray to God. After all those ghosts and evil spirits are set free, the Circle of the Wise Men creates a very special kind of knife to protect themselves. In the movie, it is called the Kandarian Dagger. Later, the dagger is given to Dr. Benjamin Price, and before he dies, he hides it somewhere inside his research lab. That is exactly why all those ghosts and demons are searching for it. Because if there is one thing capable of destroying them, it is the Kandarian Dagger, and they want to find it and destroy it. And this is where the story truly begins. Near a lake, two friends are fishing. One of them receives a phone call and walks a short distance away. But suddenly, the other friend notices something strange caught on his fishing line. He starts pulling it toward him, and when it finally comes out of the water, he realizes that an entire human head, belonging to someone who has only recently died, is hanging from the hook. He freezes in fear, and while he stands there trembling, something suddenly sends him straight to his death. Meanwhile, his friend realizes something is wrong and rushes toward the middle of the lake to save him. But by the time he reaches him, it is already too late. Everything below his friend's abdomen has already been eaten by something. Terrified, he immediately tries to get away. Then he sees the demon. He desperately tries to escape, but the demon suddenly heats up the entire lake around him, burning him alive. And after killing him, the demon continues its search for the dagger. In the next scene, we see Dr. Benjamin Price's older grandson, William, William's wife, Alice, his younger grandson, Joseph Price, and Joseph's wife. They are all together celebrating Joseph's birthday. During the celebration, William tells Alice that she needs to stop drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes, but Alice refuses to listen to him. A little later, Alice walks over to Joseph, wishes him a happy birthday, and gives him a hug. The moment William sees this, suspicion begins growing inside his mind. He becomes filled with anger. Without saying much, he gets into his car and drives away at an extremely high speed. But this is exactly the opportunity the demon has been waiting for. It begins using William for its own purpose. The demon tells him, "I found you. Now you will lead us to your family." And just like that, the demon begins using William as a way to reach the Price family. The next scene begins at William's funeral. His wife Alice, his mother, his grandmother, and the rest of the family are all there. The person leading the funeral asks Alice to come forward and say a few final words about William. But Alice says she didn't prepare any kind of script, and there is something even stranger. Even though her husband William is dead, there isn't a single tear in her eyes. William's mother notices this, and she is deeply surprised by her reaction. Later, William's father walks toward the coffin to see his son's face one final time. But then, knock knock, a strange sound comes from inside the coffin. William's father freezes. For a moment, he begins thinking that his son might still be alive. So he grabs a hammer and starts opening the coffin. But the moment the coffin opens, a demon comes rushing out and enters directly into his body. Almost immediately, his eyes begin changing. His face starts twisting into something unnatural. And slowly, the evil force begins taking control of William's father, Edgar. Later, the entire family is sitting together around the dinner table. Joseph begins playing old memories of William on the television. Everyone becomes emotional, but Edgar's behavior suddenly starts changing. When Joseph tries to sit in William's chair, Edgar angrily stops him. Then, the family tells Alice that she should take responsibility for running the restaurant, but Alice announces that she has decided to return home instead. The moment Edgar hears this, he becomes even more aggressive. Slowly, he reaches toward the knife lying on the table and picks it up. He begins insulting Joseph. Then he starts making accusations against Alice as well. And finally, the demon completely takes control of him. Edgar suddenly vomits all the food he has eaten directly onto the table. Then, in a violent burst of rage, he grabs the knife and stabs the dog nearby. After Edgar attacks the dog, Joseph immediately rushes toward him and tries to stop him. During the struggle, Edgar gets injured. For a few moments, he suddenly seems to regain consciousness. Weakly, he begins saying, "Help." The family immediately decides to take him to the hospital. Joseph's wife is driving the car while Joseph sits in the back seat trying to bandage Edgar's wound. But then, Joseph looks into the mirror, and what he sees terrifies him. Edgar has completely transformed into his demonic form. Without warning, Edgar grabs Joseph's wife by the throat. She desperately tries to escape, but during the struggle, her fingers get badly crushed in the car door. Joseph immediately pulls out a gun, but Edgar does something completely unexpected. He turns the barrel of the gun toward his own eye and challenges Joseph to shoot him. Then, Edgar violently rips the headrest from the seat. He takes the exposed metal rod and drives it directly into Joseph's wife's mouth. Joseph is horrified. Unable to do anything else, he runs for his life. Joseph somehow survives and makes it back home, where his mother and Alice are waiting. Terrified, he tells them that his father may have already killed Thea, and then someone knocks on the door. They slowly open it. Standing outside is Thea, but she is no longer herself. She is completely under the control of the evil force. Her fingers have been severed, and a metal rod is still stuck inside her mouth. The moment they pull the rod out, Thea suddenly attacks Joseph's mother. Joseph and Alice manage to push her downstairs and immediately lock the door. Then, they try escaping through the back of the house, but when they look outside, Edgar is already there, and beside him is the dog, which has also fallen under the demon's control. With nowhere else to go, Joseph and Alice are forced to retreat back inside the house. Once they are inside, they carefully lock every door. Down on the ground floor, Joseph's grandmother is sitting alone. At that exact moment, Thea, who had been thrown outside but is now completely controlled by the evil force, returns to the house. Joseph's grandmother has no idea what has happened, so without realizing the danger, she opens the door. Thea quietly walks inside. Joseph begins searching for her, but suddenly he looks up. Thea is hanging from the ceiling, and before Joseph can react, she jumps directly onto him. Then she tells him, "We will leave you alone, but you have to give us the object your family has." And immediately after saying that, she begins brutally attacking Joseph. Desperate to save his life, Joseph grabs a knife and stabs her in the neck, but Thea doesn't react the way a normal person would. Instead, she grabs the same knife and slices open her own throat, almost as if she is trying to prove that nothing can hurt her. Blood begins pouring from her neck and splashes across Joseph's face, and then she begins licking the blood. After that, Joseph's wife, now completely under the control of the evil force, returns to the ground floor where Joseph's grandmother is sitting. Because the grandmother is Dr. Price's wife, Thea believes she may know where the mysterious object was hidden, so she begins questioning her. But Joseph's grandmother has a weak memory and she cannot tell her anything. Then, Thea does something disturbing. She reaches into the grandmother's mouth, removes her dentures, licks them, and puts them right back into her mouth. After that, she begins searching around the metal part attached to the grandmother's leg. But just then, Joseph arrives. From above, Alice suddenly attacks Thea and knocks her down. Then Joseph uses a large machine to deliver a deadly attack on his own wife. Within moments, she dies, and blood spreads everywhere. After some time, the house finally becomes quiet. Joseph's grandmother goes to bed. Later, Joseph's mother walks into her room to say goodnight. She turns off the light and starts walking toward the door. But suddenly, for the first time, the grandmother calls her by name. "Good night, Susan." Susan stops. She is shocked. For a moment, she believes the grandmother's memory may have finally returned. So she walks toward her and tries to hug her, but she has no idea what has really happened. The grandmother is now also under the control of the evil force. She tells Susan that they must hand over the mysterious object that belongs to their family. Then Edgar arrives. He walks towards Susan and kisses her. And through that kiss, the demonic influence begins spreading into Susan as well. Now, all three of them have one single goal: find the mysterious object and deliver it to the evil force. After the three of them come to an agreement, only Alice and Joseph remain unaffected. Joseph's mother tells him to find the mysterious object their family possesses and give it to them. But Joseph has always deeply admired his grandfather, Dr. Price. He has read Dr. Price's diaries. He has studied his research, and because of everything he knows, Joseph decides that he will never hand that object over to them, no matter what happens. But then, Edgar arrives. Now completely under the control of the demonic force, Edgar attacks Joseph. Joseph's mother tries to stop him, but Edgar continues torturing Joseph so brutally that eventually, Joseph also falls under the control of the evil force. Alice, meanwhile, is hiding nearby, watching everything. Before Joseph completely loses control, he manages to signal Alice. He tells her to find the object first. Alice grabs a grass trimmer and heads upstairs toward Dr. Price's old research center. Once inside, she discovers dozens of daggers. But now she has another problem. Which one is the real dagger? Before she can figure it out, the demonic version of Joseph arrives to stop her. Alice grabs one dagger after another and attacks him, but nothing works. One dagger, then another, and another. None of them have any effect. Until finally, Alice grabs a small black dagger. She strikes Joseph with it, and this time, Joseph immediately collapses. Alice finally realizes that she has found the real Kandarian dagger. She takes it and runs out of the house. But now, the main demonic force, the one without a human body, is coming after her. Alice desperately tries to hide. She pulls out her phone and tries calling the police, but then her phone starts ringing. The ringtone reveals exactly where she is hiding. The demon finds her and throws her into a massive garbage pit. Inside the pit, Alice finds a powerful breaker. She grabs it and uses it to completely tear the demon's body apart. But even after all of that, it still doesn't die. One final time, the demon reaches out and grabs Alice by the leg. Alice looks down. She still has the real dagger. So, with everything she has left, she drives the Kandarian dagger directly into the demon. And this time, it works. The demonic force is finally destroyed forever.